Dating down is exhausting. My friends keep asking why I am dating down. Maybe we should just be realistic about this. That is what my girlfriend said at her country club while admiring her friend's new Mercedes. So I let her think our breakup was mutual and moved to Seattle before she could discover I had just sold my startup for $15 million. I am Cameron, 28M, been dating Madison, 26F, for about 18 months. She comes from old money. Her dad owns commercial real estate. Her mom does charity galas. And she works in marketing at a Fortune 500, while living in a downtown condo her parents bought her. I have been working on a fintech startup for the past 3 years, living pretty modestly while building the company. Madison knew I was an entrepreneur, but I have never been the type to talk about business details or flash money around. I drive a 2019 Honda Accord that runs perfectly, live in a decent but not fancy apartment, and generally keep my lifestyle pretty low-key. Old habits from growing up middle class. Plus, I believe in reinvesting profits back into business growth rather than buying status symbols. Here is what Madison didn't know. My startup just got acquired by a major financial services company. The deal closed 6 weeks ago for $15 million. My share, after taxes and paying investors, is enough to completely change my life. But I haven't changed anything yet. Same apartment, same car, same casual clothes. I was planning to tell Madison once all the paperwork was finalized, and I had figured out my next moves. That conversation happened before I got the chance. Last Saturday, Madison invited me to some charity event at her family's country club. I had been to a few of these before, not really my scene, but I went because it was important to her. The usual crowd of trust fund kids, finance bros, and their trophy wives, talking about vacation homes and luxury cars. Madison's friend Jessica showed up in a brand new Mercedes AMG, probably $80K worth of car. All the women immediately surrounded it, taking Instagram photos and gushing about the interior. Madison was clearly excited and kept taking pictures to post later. I was standing nearby talking to Tyler, my business partner, who had also been dragged along by his girlfriend. We were discussing our acquisition integration timeline when I heard Madison's voice carry over from the car group. God, I am so jealous, she said to Jessica. I keep telling myself I need to be realistic about my situation. Jessica asked what she meant. Well, you know, Madison said, gesturing vaguely toward me. My friends keep asking why I am dating down. Maybe we should just be realistic about this. The conversation stopped. Everyone looked uncomfortable. Jessica tried to change the subject, but Madison continued. I mean, he is sweet and everything. But look around, she said, indicating the other couples. These guys can actually provide the lifestyle we grew up with. Cam's still trying to make his little tech company work while living in that basic apartment. Tyler caught my eye. He knew about the acquisition and could see exactly what was happening. I just stood there for a moment, processing that the woman I had been planning a future with had just described our relationship as dating down, because she thought I couldn't afford her country club lifestyle. The irony was surreal. I was probably worth more than half the guys at that event, including Jessica's finance boyfriend, who had bought her the Mercedes. But because I didn't feel the need to prove my worth through expensive displays, Madison had concluded I was beneath her social station. I walked over to the group. Hey, Maddie, can I talk to you privately? She looked embarrassed, probably realizing I would overheard her realistic assessment of our relationship. We stepped aside, and I asked her directly, do you think you are dating down with me? She got defensive. Cam, that is not. I mean, we just come from different backgrounds. That doesn't mean. It is a simple question. Do you think you are dating beneath your level? Long pause. Then, I think we want different things in life, and maybe it is time we acknowledge that. I nodded. You are probably right. We agreed to take a break to think about what we both wanted. She seemed relieved, probably thinking she was handling a difficult conversation maturely. I let her maintain that narrative. What I didn't tell her was that I had already been considering a move to Seattle. The acquisition company wanted me to potentially run their Pacific Northwest operations, and I had been thinking about a change of scenery anyway. Madison's country club revelation just made the decision easier. I spent the next 2 weeks quietly organizing my exit from our social circle. Told mutual friends that Madison and I had decided we wanted different things. Kept it amicable and mature. Let her save face, rather than explaining that she would basically dumped me for being too poor for her friends. Tyler helped me pack up my apartment. You know she is going to figure out what she lost eventually, he said. Maybe, I said. But by then, I will be building something new in a city where people judge you by what you create, not what you inherit. I moved to Seattle 3 weeks ago, bought a nice but modest condo downtown, started exploring the tech scene, and began planning my next venture. The acquisition money gives me the freedom to take risks and build something meaningful, rather than just profitable. Meanwhile, Madison's been posting Instagram stories from various country club events, looking happy with her realistic social circle. She probably thinks I am struggling to restart my career in a new city, while she is living her best authentic life. She has no idea that her dating down assessment was off by about $15 million. I am not posting this for revenge or to bash Madison. She is not a bad person. She just prioritizes different things than I do. She values social status and material displays, while I value building something meaningful and finding someone who appreciates character over credit scores. But I will admit there is something satisfying about knowing that her realistic decision to upgrade from her broke entrepreneur boyfriend might have been the most expensive mistake she has ever made. Update 1: Life in Seattle has been incredible. The tech scene here is exactly what I hoped for. People care more about what you are building than where you went to college or what your parents do. I have been networking, exploring potential partnerships, and starting to sketch out ideas for my next company. I bought a place in Capitol Hill. Nothing flashy. Just a clean 2-bedroom condo with good natural light and walking distance to coffee shops. Still driving the Honda because it is reliable and paid off. Some things don't need changing just because you can afford to change them. The acquisition integration has been smooth. The parent company has been respectful of our original vision, while providing resources we never had as a startup. I am consulting on the Pacific Northwest expansion plans, which has been a good way to learn this market, while staying connected to my previous work. As for Madison, I have been following her Instagram story occasionally, probably shouldn't, but old habits. She seems to be thriving in her post, dating down life. Lots of country club events, weekend trips to Napa, dinner parties with the same crowd of finance bros and trust fund kids. She posted a story 2 weeks ago from some charity gala with the caption "Surrounded by successful, ambitious people tonight." The subtle shade wasn't lost on me, but honestly it just confirmed I had made the right choice. While she was celebrating being around ambitious trust fund kids spending their parents' money, I was building actual value in a new market. Tyler visited me last weekend. He is still in our old city dealing with the acquisition transition and occasionally sees Madison at social events. She asked about you, he mentioned over dinner. Wanted to know how you were adjusting to Seattle. What did you tell her? That you seemed happy and were working on new projects. She got this look on her face like she was expecting me to say you were struggling. I asked if she seemed happy with her realistic dating life. Hard to say, Tyler said. She is dating some finance guy now. Marcus something. He drives a Porsche and talks about his bonus structure a lot. That should have stung, but honestly, it just felt like confirmation that we had wanted fundamentally different things. Madison found someone who could provide the lifestyle validation she was looking for. Good for her. But here is where things get interesting. I have been pretty quiet about the acquisition details, even here in Seattle. When people ask about my background, I just say, I sold a startup and am exploring new opportunities. Most people in tech understand that means did okay, taking time to figure out next steps rather than made generational wealth. But last week, I got contacted by a journalist from Forbes. Apparently my acquisition caught their attention as part of a larger trend piece they are doing on Pacific Northwest tech acquisitions. They want to include me in an upcoming 30 Under 30 feature, focused on entrepreneurs who are building the next wave of fintech innovation. I was hesitant at first. I have never been comfortable with public attention, and the money wasn't really the point. I just wanted to build something useful. But my mentor convinced me that visibility could help attract talent and partners for whatever I build next. So I agreed to the interview. We talked about the technical challenges my startup solved, the acquisition process, and my plans for contributing to Seattle's tech ecosystem. The article is supposed to publish next month. Tyler thinks it is funny that Madison might see it and realize her dating down assessment was slightly off. She is going to lose her mind when she sees you in Forbes talking about multi-million-dollar exits, he said. Maybe. But, honestly, if someone needs to see you featured in a business magazine to understand your worth, they are not the right person anyway. I am dating someone new here, Emma, who I met at a coffee shop near my place. She is a veterinarian, drives a Subaru with 150,000 miles on it, and when I told her I had sold a startup, her response was, "That is cool. What kind of problems were you solving? Not how much did you sell it for or what does that mean for your lifestyle?" Just genuine curiosity about the work itself. It is refreshing being with someone who cares about what you create rather than what you can afford. The Forbes piece should be out in about 3 weeks. I am curious to see if Madison notices, but honestly, I am more excited about the potential partnerships and talent it might attract for my next venture. Though I will admit, there is a small part of me that is curious how her ambitious country club crowd will react when they realize their former member's broke ex-boyfriend just got profiled in Forbes for being a millionaire entrepreneur. Update 2. Well, the Forbes article dropped, and the reaction has been something. It was actually a really good article, focused on how my startup solved real problems in B2B payment processing, rather than just the acquisition details. The journalist did a good job highlighting the technical innovation and market impact, rather than making it about the money. But of course, the money was mentioned. The article described the acquisition as a significant exit in the mid-8-figure range and positioned me as part of a new generation of fintech entrepreneurs building in the Pacific Northwest after successful early exits. The Seattle tech community response was incredibly positive. I have gotten partnership inquiries, potential co-founders reaching out, and invitations to speak at several conferences. The kind of visibility that actually helps you build something meaningful rather than just feeding your ego. But the real reaction came from my old city. Tyler texted me about 30 minutes after the article went live. "Bro, Madison just saw Forbes. Her story is just the crying, laughing emoji repeated 12 times. Then my phone started buzzing. First was Madison's Instagram DM, "OMG, saw Forbes. So proud of you." As if we had been cheering each other on this whole time instead of her literally describing our relationship as dating down 4 months earlier. Then came the text messages. "Cannot believe you didn't tell me about the acquisition. That is incredible news." Followed by, "We should celebrate your success. I am actually planning a trip to Seattle for work next month." And finally, "I have been thinking about our conversation at the club. I think I was just stressed about other things and didn't express myself well. Would love to catch up and hear about everything you have been building." I didn't respond to any of them. But Madison wasn't done. She started commenting on my old Instagram posts, stuff from 6 months ago that she had never engaged with before. Heart eyes on photos from hiking trips, fire emojis on pictures from conferences. Suddenly she was very interested in supporting my journey. Tyler said the country club crowd had been talking about the Forbes article all week. Apparently Jessica, the Mercedes girl, was so impressed that Madison had dated such a visionary entrepreneur and couldn't understand why they had broken up. "Madison's been saying you two are still figuring things out and that the distance has been hard," Tyler reported. "She is rewriting history to make it sound like a mutual decision due to geography, rather than her thinking you were too broke for her friends." The cognitive dissonance is incredible. The same person who publicly questioned why she was dating down is now trying to claim credit for my success and position herself as my supportive almost ex, who just needs to overcome the challenge of distance. But here is the most telling part. Marcus, the finance boyfriend with the Porsche, apparently got very quiet when the Forbes article came up at their last country club dinner. Tyler heard from someone who was there that Marcus makes about $200K a year and drives a leased car. Suddenly, Madison's upgrade from her broke entrepreneur boyfriend doesn't look quite as strategic. Emma's reaction to all this drama was perfect. When I showed her Madison's DMs, she just laughed and said, "Wow. She really thinks you don't remember her saying you weren't good enough for her friends." "What would you do?" I asked. "Nothing," Emma said. "People who judge you by your bank account aren't worth responding to, regardless of what your bank account looks like. That is when I knew Emma was special. She had known me for 2 months before the Forbes article, and her opinion of me didn't change at all when it came out. She was proud of my work, but not suddenly more interested in dating me. The foundation of our relationship was built before she knew about the money, which is exactly how it should be. Meanwhile, Madison has escalated from Instagram DMs to actual emails. Yesterday, I got a long message about how proud she was of my success, and how she had always known I would achieve great things. She wanted to properly celebrate my accomplishments, and suggested meeting up when she is in Seattle next month for her work trip. I am not responding to any of it. The woman who thought I wasn't worthy of her social circle 4 months ago doesn't get to suddenly claim she always believed in me just because Forbes validated what I had already achieved. The funniest part is that she still doesn't understand the actual timeline. She thinks I sold my startup after our breakup, probably as some kind of motivated response to her rejection. She has no idea that I had already closed the deal when she was explaining to her country club friends why she was dating down. Her realistic assessment of our relationship wasn't just wrong. It was based on information that was already 6 weeks out of date. I am planning to ignore her Seattle visit entirely. I have got partnerships to build, a company to plan, and a relationship with someone who appreciated me before I had public validation. Some bridges don't need to be rebuilt just because circumstances change. Final update: it has been almost 6 months since Madison's country club revelation ended our relationship, and I figured I owed everyone a final update on how this all resolved. Madison did come to Seattle last month, and she definitely tried to make contact. She somehow found out where I live, probably from mutual friends, and showed up at my building's lobby on a Saturday morning. The doorman called up to ask if I was expecting a Madison Cross to visit. I told him I wasn't available and asked him to let her know I was traveling for business. Which wasn't entirely untrue. I had meetings scheduled for later that week. She left a handwritten letter with the doorman. It was something. 4 pages of how she had never stopped thinking about our connection, and how she realized that successful partnerships take time to develop properly. She wanted to start fresh and build something real together, now that we were both established in our careers. The letter managed to avoid any acknowledgement of what she would actually said at the country club. No mention of dating down or being realistic about our relationship. Instead, she had reframed our entire history as a story of 2 ambitious people who had needed time to grow into their full potential. It was masterfully written PR, but completely detached from reality. Emma read it and just shook her head. She is trying to convince you that her opinion of you changed because you grew, not because her knowledge of your bank account changed. That is exactly right. Madison wasn't apologizing for misjudging my worth. She was pretending she had never misjudged it in the first place. I didn't respond to the letter. Tyler visited again 2 weeks later and filled me in on the aftermath. Apparently Madison had been telling people at the country club that she and I were working through some things and that long-distance relationships require patience and maturity. She had shown people my Forbes article like it was a personal victory, talking about how proud she was of my success and how she had always known I had this kind of potential. Jessica and the Mercedes crew were apparently very impressed by Madison's entrepreneur ex-boyfriend and kept asking when we would officially get back together. But Marcus, the finance boyfriend, was less thrilled about Madison's sudden obsession with her successful ex. Their relationship ended about 3 weeks after my Forbes article came out. Tyler heard it was because Marcus felt like he was competing with my success, rather than building something genuine with Madison. She kept bringing up your article, Tyler said. Apparently, she would reference your achievements when Marcus would talk about his work, like she was using you to make him feel inadequate. The irony is incredible. Madison had dumped me for being too unsuccessful for her social circle, then used my success to torpedo her relationship with the guy she had upgraded to. She had managed to lose both the substance and the status she was chasing. As for me and Emma, things have been amazing. We made it official 3 months ago, and she has been nothing but supportive as I have started planning my next company. She cares about the problems I am trying to solve, not the valuation I might achieve. When investors started reaching out after the Forbes piece, her first question was, are these people you would actually want to work with? That is the kind of partner you want. Someone who helps you think through decisions rather than just celebrating outcomes. I am launching a new startup focused on financial accessibility for small businesses. The irony isn't lost on me that Madison rejected me for not being financially successful enough, while I was literally building tools to help other entrepreneurs access capital. But that is exactly the kind of meaningful work I want to focus on rather than just chasing status. Last week, I got one final message from Madison. I am happy. I am building something I care about, living in a city I love, and dating someone who appreciates me for who I am, rather than what I have achieved. I responded, "Thank you. I hope you find what you are looking for too." And I meant it. Madison isn't a bad person. She just prioritizes different things than I do. She wants social validation and material comfort, and there is nothing inherently wrong with that. She just needs to find someone who shares those priorities, rather than trying to retrofit past relationships when circumstances change. I keep that Forbes article framed in my office, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that success without authenticity is hollow, and that people who need external validation to see your worth aren't worth impressing. Emma's never asked to see the article, even though she knows it exists. A success by how fulfilled I seem with my work, not by what magazines say about my achievements. That is how I know she is the right person for this chapter of my life. Madison taught me what I don't want in a relationship. Emma is showing me what I do want. Sometimes you need the contrast to appreciate the real thing. That is my story. Built something valuable, got underestimated by someone who cared more about appearances than substance, and found someone who appreciates authenticity over achievements. Not a bad outcome for getting dumped at a country club.